welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at Assault on Gallipoli, the Anzac Landing Campaign 1915, 2nd edition from Hexasim. So this is, funnily enough, we have the 1st edition, but we never got round to it. So Gecko Games, I believe, is an Australian company, and the designer of this is Kieran Oakley and Russell Loki, or Lovka, depending on whereabouts in the world you're from. But Hexasim partnered with them and put out a 2nd edition. I think the 1st edition was kind of, it was independently done, they put it out themselves, but they've teamed up with Hexasim that's got it in a nice box with much better European distribution as well, I believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the 2nd edition, we're going to give this a go and let you know how it is. But this is obviously a 2-player World War I Gallipoli campaign game. So it says it takes anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, and you have, it's kind of an area control style game. It's not a hex encounter game. So let's take a look at what we got inside. So we do have a couple of decks of cards, and these are kind of loosely bound with one of these little plastic sheaths. So we have our combat deck, and we have our action deck. Oh, let's get that in focus, here we go. So the combat deck's got a bunch of different things like bayonet charges with it, reserve trenches. Yeah, I feel like, is my autofocus on? Okay, let me know if that's better or not working properly. Ambushes, raids, creeping barrages. And then the action deck will say that you can, it gives you like your capacities to move and things that are going to help you to bypass some of the rules of the game, so to speak, and allow you to do things where you can take action cards from discard piles, ignore damages of fire combat, dysentery, all the classic stuff. Aim out to hurry, there you go. So the game has 5d10s that come with it, which we appreciate. Oh, there we go. That's not... Okay, I'm not happy about this. Hopefully this is showing up okay. I guess I have technical issues today. And a bunch of red cubes and blue cubes as well. Make sure, however, that you don't drop your dice on the floor like I did. You do not want to be losing those. Okay, and everything else in here is shrink wrapped, like all together. So let's get the box out of the way real quick, and I will pop this open. So it does come with a really nice mounted map board, which I appreciate. And the 1st edition did as well, but I think I'll have to get it out and compare, because I think they just changed the color palette slightly and made it a little bit nicer, is what it seems. I can't get this open. Gosh, we're on a struggle bus today. Well, now I don't know how games work. Here we go. Hey! We got there in the end. I feel like boards shouldn't be this complex to open, but here we are. Okay, that does not fall down. Ah! I'm struggling with this one. This is not a regularly cut board. I don't know how they cut things down under, but here we are. I'm just kidding. This was the French. It's their fault. Okay. So this is what I'm looking at when we talked about kind of, it's an area game. You can see here we've got Gunner's Hill in the middle, for example. It is a space with a name. And this is a game about moving across the board to take objectives and destroy the enemy. So you're going to have, we got a turn track over here, and then our terrain effects chart is what we're going to call that. It's a bit more of just a list. And then on this side here we have our landings at Anzac Cove. So obviously we're going to charge up these gullies into this extremely rough and rocky terrain and try, in theory, to make our way across the map. So what we have is our 2nd edition Assault on Gallipoli rules book. And the rules themselves, about 20 odd pages of rules. But that's a pretty large typeface with a lot of space in between. So I think, don't be scared by 20 odd pages of rules. That's really not that bad. We have a couple of scenario booklets. We have our Anzac scenario booklet, and we have our Turkish scenario booklet, and they each have a different kind of unit guide on those. But here, like it has for scenario 4, we have this is all of the Commonwealth forces, all the Anzac forces, and for scenario 4, this is all the Turkish ones. They split that up so that you can both players can be doing this at the same time for things like setup, and they don't have to worry quite as much about all that, which I appreciate. Instead of passing kind of a playbook back and forth and be like, okay, well, you set up your guys, I'll set up your guys later. So that's a pretty neat way of doing that. I don't know if I've actually seen that before. I actually really like that. I can't remember if that's an addition to the game, but that's pretty neat. We have a couple play aids. So these are dual-sided. They're identical. So we have on here kind of a unit summary, all the different actions that you can take, fire combat modifiers, and close combat, and how to resolve that. And then we also have a much larger version of this terrain effects chart that's over here, so you have that to hand as well. And then everything else that you get in the game is the counters. So we're going to take a look at these. So there's 2 kind of full-size sheets, and then 2 of these like 2 3/4 or 4/5 style sheets. However, all of these are pre-rounded counters, and we're going to kind of zoom in here. These look real nice. The artwork on them is pretty good. And what we'll do is we're just going to punch a couple of these. They punch out really nicely. These are really nicely sized counters. Probably, I don't know, close to 2 centimeters. And they have kind of a damaged side on the back is what we're going to call them. But I'm really, I like a large counter with a nice kind of image on it. And then they also have, obviously, the different units. Like, for example, this was the 6th North Lancashire Division, or Regiment. And then on this sheet, again, we have more Turkish units, but look, we've got all our artillery pieces up here. And then we have our machine gun emplacements. And we have some markers, and then some trench lines here as well. These are an interesting shape, because these are slightly different. Here's like a long, thin marker. You don't see that very often. And then I think these are, over here, this is barbed wire. And then this sheet has more of those, but then we have our regular units, including some cavalry up here, and some leaders lying down with their binoculars. That's pretty cute. Lieutenant Colonel Camille. But that's what you get in the box. It is. This is a very, what I'm going to call an unassuming game. What I mean by that is it's not overburdened with a lot of stuff. It covers a topic that we've played a couple games on, and it's one that I always find very, very interesting. If you've ever watched the film Gallipoli, if you've ever read any accounts of Gallipoli, know anything about it, it's not a campaign for the faint of heart. And I also believe that the Gallipoli campaign really informs a lot of the Anzac. I don't want to speak to this, but I think the Anzac the Gallipoli campaign really was the first time those units were like very heavily blooded into, global conflict under the banner of the Empire, and they gained their reputation and their national fighting identities here, and that pervades today. This is a conflict that is central to, I think, a lot of military thinking and a lot of military history when it comes to Australia, New Zealand, and Commonwealth forces as well. So anyway, I'm excited to play this. We're actually going to get this to the table very soon, although who knows when you're watching this. But this is the second edition. It's put out by Hexasim. It's in a much less unwieldy box. The other box was like twice the size of this. And I'm looking forward to this. This is much, much easier to get a hold of now as well, because I think Hexasim's doing a much you know, they're on this side of the world, so to speak. So I think it's a bit easier to get a hold of than the first edition was. So I'm looking forward to playing this. We'll let you know how it goes, but appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.